What if what you see, what you experience, isn't truly what's there? What if our perception is, well, a powerful filter that literally shapes our reality?
It's a huge question.
Right. So today on the deep dive, we're plunging into Vadim Zeland's reality transurfing, specifically Chapter 8, which unpacks this fascinating concept of slides.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to dig into Zeland's idea that our personal beliefs, our inner convictions, they act like these powerful filters.
Like projector slides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actively shaping our entire experience of reality. And maybe more importantly, we'll explore how you can consciously influence this process for, real personal transformation.
Yeah.
And all this comes from excerpts of a YouTube transcript of Reality Transurfing Chapter 8 slides by Vadim Zeland.
It's definitely a mind-bending journey because what's so fascinating here is how our minds aren't just passively receiving reality.
No.
They're actively constructing what we perceive, often without us even realizing it.
Not completely unaware.
Yeah. And this deep dive, it isn't about mere fantasy or wishful thinking. It's more about a, let's say, nuanced understanding of how our inner world really influences our external reality.
And how we can navigate that interplay.
Precisely. How that interplay can be consciously navigated.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Mm.
Zeland starts by challenging our conventional understanding of illusion.
Right.
When we think of illusion, we usually mean it's not real, yeah.
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Fake. Not there.
But transurfing sees it differently. So how does it view things we normally call imaginary?
Well, that's a great starting point because transurfing, it views illusion not as pure fantasy, but more as the perception of a different reality.
A different reality.
Yeah. So, for instance, dreams and hallucinations. Zeland sees those as the soul journeying through what he calls alternative space.
Alternative space.
Which is like this vast, infinite database of all possible realities, all potential events. Everything already exists there, in a way. And those sort of illusory perceptions we might have when awake, they're often glimpses of other sectors of this information field, things that haven't quite materialized into our physical reality yet.
So they're potentially real, just not here now.
Kind of, but
Yeah.
it's really important to clarify. Reality itself, physical reality, is not an illusion according to transurfing.
Okay.
Claiming that, Zeland suggests, actually overestimates our intellect's ability to explain everything. Our understanding is limited, not everything fits into a neat, rational box.
That really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? It's not just what we experience, but what we're attuned to.
Exactly. Attunement is key.
Yeah, and Zeland gives some really intriguing examples, like what happens when people are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or even just dreaming.
Right. Awareness loses control.
Yeah, our awareness loses control, kind of like in sleep,
Right.
and the subconscious attunes to unrealized areas of the alternative space.
Mhm.
So our perception is off roaming some virtual sector while our body's still here, physically. You might see familiar streets, but they look weirdly distorted.
Like a half-dream, half-reality state.
Yeah. And it gets even more profound looking at psychosis. Zeland suggests psychiatric patients might perceive an unrealized sector where everything's different scenery, scripts, roles.
It really challenges the conventional view. He notes they aren't necessarily ill in the normal sense, but maybe experiencing an alternative reality.
Wow.
And to really drive that point home, Transurfing shares this really poignant story. A female patient,
Okay.
she had attributed just off-the-scale importance to having the ideal family. But her physical reality was terrible abusive marriage, couldn't conceive, just unbearable. Her
Wow.
soul just couldn't take it. So her awareness attuned, shifted to a virtual sector. One where she was idyllically happy wife to an English lord, mother to perfect children.
So her mind was there, but her body was still here.
Exactly. Her perception was entirely elsewhere, even though physically she was in the material world.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
But it begs the question, right? If these alternative realities are so vivid, why don't they just become physical reality for them?
Yeah, why doesn't it manifest? Well, Transurfing's answer is that transforming into physical reality needs thought energy programmed in a state of complete harmony between the heart and mind,
Harmony between heart and mind.
which is precisely what these patients often lack. Maybe, as the text suggests, the distortion, the gap between the material world and these virtual sectors is just too great.
Too big a jump.
Requires immense energy to bridge it. A contemporary Napoleon, for instance, would be an extraordinary occurrence because that reality is just too far from most people's potential.
Right.
And there might be other reasons, too, things we just don't understand yet.
It's not just these extreme cases, though. This idea of distorted perception, it applies to our everyday reality, too, doesn't it? influenced by childhood info.
Absolutely. They share that well-known experiment with the two kittens. Remember that?
Vaguely, yes.
One kitten raised with only vertical lines, the other only horizontal.
Ah, right. And
They
then,
put them in a normal room. The first one kept bumping into chair legs. Vertical lines just didn't exist for it.
because it had never seen them.
And the second one kept slipping downstairs, couldn't process horizontal lines.
Wow. Their reality was fundamentally shaped by that limited input.
Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If kittens can have their reality distorted so profoundly, what slides are we carrying around?
From our own experiences, yeah. Shaping our perception without us knowing.
Exactly.
And this distorted perception, this brings us right to the core idea, the concept of slides.
Mm-hmm. A really powerful metaphor in transurfing.
Zeland says basically no one is capable of a totally objective perception. He uses this analogy. The world is like uniform light. Our worldview is the slide, and our perception is the image projected onto the screen.
And it's our personal slides that introduce the distortion, the color, the bias.
Let's get concrete. How do these slides work day to day? Take someone with an inferiority complex slide. This person is obsessed with some personal shortcoming, right? And they assume everyone else cares just as much as they do.
They project their focus onto others.
Yeah. So if you're worried about how you're dressed, you walk into a room thinking, oh, they're all judging me, they're sneering.
When really,
As Transurfing says, the negative thoughts are all in your own head.
mm-hmm.
Most people are 90% preoccupied with thoughts of their own person.
Mm-hmm. Even a job interviewer is probably more worried about their questions than your shirt.
Good point. Or think about the appearance slide. Believing you're not beautiful or handsome.
Yeah, that creates a filter.
And the text points out it's really only potential partners who truly evaluate appearance in that critical way.
Right. For everyone else, after the first few seconds, no one else particularly notices. You just become part of the scenery.
It's just our slide making a big deal out of it.
So, here's the real kicker. Your internal slide isn't just about you. It's like your brain's projector, literally distorting everyone and everything around you based on these deep, often unconscious beliefs.
It's not just self-perception, it's world perception.
Exactly. It has this twofold action. It skews how you see your place in the world and how others relate to you, and it distorts your perception of the external world itself. You start interpreting neutral things negatively.
Wow. Okay, and this leads to another fascinating concept, projections. So if our own slides distort how we see ourselves, what happens when we start seeing those flaws in others? Zeland mentions projections, right?
Precisely. Yeah, a projection in this context, it's when a person's dissatisfaction with themselves, the stuff that's been forced down into their subconscious sort of pours out onto others.
Right, so if someone's unfairly blaming me.
Exactly, or accusing you of being a certain way, a way you know you're not, it's highly probable they've got a slide in their own head.
Projecting its image onto me.
That's it. They're seeing their own stuff in you.
Okay, so what's the foundation then? What fuels these slides? What gives them their power?
The answer keeps coming back to one thing: importance.
Importance.
That's right. You worry about your appearance because it's important to you. The slide only lives in your head precisely because your appearance doesn't fundamentally matter to anyone else in that same way.
To others, it's just scenery.
Yeah, it's just part of the background, no personal significance. It's that internal slide, fueled by importance, that transforms, say, an unusual feature into ugliness in your mind.
Zeland tells that really powerful story about, I'll read it to Lautrec, the major.
Famous story.
Broke his legs as a child, physical handicap his whole life, suffered deep depression, convinced he was ugly.
Yeah, a really strong negative slide.
But then there was a turning point when he let go of the importance of his condition, as Transurfing puts it.
The slide just ceased to exist.
And good fortune came his way. He became a famous painter, popular with women, co-founded the Moulin Rouge.
All flowing from that inner release of importance. It perfectly shows the mechanism. Slides are created when you give way too much meaning to what other people might think of you, opinions you don't even know.
Right.
And what's so profound here is that a slide, it's a product of imagination, right? So you could call it an illusion.
But it's an illusion with real-world consequences.
Exactly. It can deeply, concretely affect your life. And what's more, a negative slide, especially when it's backed by that unity between heart and mind.
The conviction.
Yes, that conviction will actually steer you towards a reality, a sector, where the slide's content gets fully expressed. It's gradual, but consistent.
So if you hate being plump, you keep putting on weight. Birthmark bothers you, it gets bigger. Feel inadequate.
You find confirmation everywhere.
Worry about being unattractive, the problem grows. Feel guilty.
Punishment finds you. It's a feedback loop.
Wow. But the good news,
Mm-hmm.
the solution.
The good news and the key is that as soon as importance disappears, the negative slide loses its foundation, crumbles, and ceases to function.
Remove the fuel.
Remove the fuel. It's about consciously withdrawing that attention and significance.
Oh, okay, what does this mean for us? We can flip this around.
We absolutely can.
The task is to switch your attention to the qualities you do like about yourself and other attributes you'd like to acquire. It's an empowering shift, isn't it?
It really is. The first step is, well, identifying your negative slides, like clearing out unnecessary junk from your mental space.
Spring cleaning for the mind.
Kind of, but the crucial part is you don't battle them. Fighting them gives them energy.
Right.
Instead, you deprive slides of their essential foundation, which is your attention and the importance you give them. Turn your focus away from shortcomings towards virtues.
Okay. And then creating positive slides. The guidance is quite beautiful. Draw yourself as you would wish to see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And love the you that you see in the slide. Work on the image, embellishing it with detail. It doesn't have to be static either.
No, it can be dynamic. Graceful movement, elegantly dress, aristocratic manners, shining wit, brilliant problem solving.
Whatever qualities you want to embody.
Exactly. And by feeding that positive slide into your mind, you'll unwittingly, unconsciously begin to adjust to the slide. The main task, and this needs that heart-mind unity again.
The GPS and the gut feeling aligned.
Perfect analogy. The goal is for the slide to eventually dissolve because it's become an integrated part of your personality. Your heart, which knows rather than reasons, can actually be taught new comfort zones this way.
That's powerful. Okay, practical advice for making these work. Start small, realistically achievable steps.
Yes, don't try to leap too far too fast.
And crucially, your slide must be truly yours and not a copy of someone else.
Very important. Authenticity matters. So if you admire bravery in someone else, find your own version, maybe resoluteness.
Right. Beauty could be charm, strength could be dexterity, your own flavor.
Exactly. Also, positive slides apparently take effect faster if you interact with people you have not met before.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Because they have no preconceived notions of you. You're a blank slate for them, making it easier for the new you to emerge.
Makes sense. And finally, feed the necessary slide boldly and fearlessly into your mind. Disregard doubt.
Yeah, commit to it. And this idea also applies to the outside world. A positive slide can act like a filter, letting the positive in, but blocks the negative out.
Like the exhibition analogy.
Exactly. You walk through an exhibition, you stop at what attracts you, you walk indifferently past the rest. The world's similar. If you don't pass negativity by indifferently,
It latches onto you.
it starts following you around. And if anyone calls this rose-tinted glasses...
Transurfing says that is a negative slide.
Yep. A negative slide of pessimists who can't allow themselves the luxury of having. Talk about projection.
Okay, this leads to a really provocative question.
Yeah.
Are you filled with this ambitious desire, star, millionaire, whatever?
Of big dreams.
Yeah. If so, can you truly give yourself permission to become one?
It's a deep question. Most people think fame, money, power, they're for the chosen few. But Zeland flips it.
How so?
He says, primarily they chose themselves, and only later is the choice confirmed by others. If you dream, but deep down, you can't allow yourself to have the dream.
It just won't happen.
It just won't happen. That permission is core.
The examples here are so vivid. The homeless person staring at the Christmas table.
Right.
They'd accept an invitation, sure, that's inner intention, desire,
Mm-hmm.
but they wouldn't just walk in and sit down. Why? Because they aren't ready to have it.
Their comfort zone doesn't include that. So outer intention, the world's response, won't deliver it because at the level of pure common sense, they are not actually ready to have.
Or walking into expensive shops, that feeling of discomfort like you don't belong.
That tells you you're not ready to give yourself permission to own expensive things. You can see the difference between the buyer, calm, confident,
Dignified.
and the window shopper, tense, inhibited, maybe apologizing, feeling inferior or envious.
It all comes down to their will to have.
Precisely. It comes down to giving yourself permission to be worthy of the luxury you genuinely deserve. Outer intention needs that will to have. which means feeling worthy, knowing it's your choice.
It's not just believing, it's knowing in your heart, isn't it?
That's the distinction.
So how do you get this will to have? How do you cultivate that knowing?
Well, Zeland compares it to riding a bicycle without stabilizers for the first time.
Ah, that moment.
Yeah, where all the doubt, the hesitation, the mental chatter just disappears, leaving nothing but that wordless clarity of knowing.
Knowing without needing faith.
Exactly. And that clarity comes from the unity that exists between heart and mind when they're perfectly aligned.
It's a profound realization, really, that everyone is free to choose whatever they desire, but maybe not everyone truly allows themselves that freedom.
Right. And positive slides are crucial here. They help push open the limits of your comfort zone. They make things that seemed impossible feel plausible.
And when that uneasiness about the dream melts away.
Then faith becomes knowledge. The will to have appears.
So the actionable step, create the dream slide in your mind and hold it in your awareness.
Yeah, but not just observing it like a picture.
No, you have to delve into it, live it at least virtually, mentally play out the scenes, feel yourself as a direct participant.
Be in the movie, not just watching it. And it helps to play it out in real life too, at least formally, like in those expensive shops.
Practice how you'd choose if you could buy.
Exactly. Do not think about the money and do not look at the price tags. The money isn't the point right then.
Feel the taste of them.
Yes. Spend time choosing calmly. Pretend you own the goods already. By doing that, you start letting these things into the layer of your world. You attune to lifelines where they can be yours.
Zeland uses that striking example of the new Russian billionaires during perestroika. They reaped the resources because they gave themselves permission to have. No guilt, no feeling unworthy.
They just had the will to have. And so dispassionate outer intention gave them what they wanted.
Okay, let's shift to visualization. It's a common concept, but Transurfing's take is slightly different, right? Offering a no-fail visualization technique, if done right.
Yeah, he critiques some common approaches first. Type 1 is just the dream.
The weakest one.
The weakest, most unreliable. Dreamers don't really expect it to happen. They lack the intent to have and to act. Their goal is really just the process of dreaming itself.
Just enjoying the fantasy?
Pretty much. Then type 2 is the film. Conscious visualization, there's intent. Like visualizing your dream house in detail.
Okay, sounds better.
But here's the critical mistake. You will see much the same or exactly the same house, but it will not actually belong to you.
Oh, why not?
Because you forgot the most important thing. Who owns the house? You're observing it from the outside, like a beggar stares into a shop window.
No, passive observation again. So the superior method.
Type 3, playing a role. Active participation. This is what a slide truly is.
Stepping into the movie.
Exactly. If your goal is the house, you don't just watch the movie of it. You enter the house, walk through the rooms, touching things, sink into an armchair, act as if it were real.
Embodying it, that's the slide.
That's the slide, and that is much more effective. This type of slide will widen your comfort zone and with time is sure to be materialized.
But takes patience.
Patience and perseverance, yes. And it needs to be your goal, not mixed up with pendulums, those external energy structures. Otherwise, you won't get that heart-mind unity needed for manifestation.
Okay, so what does this mean for how we visualize then? Transurfing makes this critical distinction.
Between desire and intention.
Right. Desire is a concentration of attention on a goal, but intention is the concentration of attention on movement towards the goal.
That's the key difference.
And the conclusion is, what moves you to the goal is to visualize the process of moving towards the goal rather than to contemplate the goal itself.
Let's make that tangible. Raising your arm. Desiring to raise your arm or picturing it already raised, that's desire. The actual process of lifting it, the muscle contraction, the movement, that's intention.
Got it.
So Zeland says, visualization of your goals, just the end result, is the work of desire, which will not bring you a single step closer.
Right.
But in Transurfing, the practice involves imagining the mental picture of the process of moving towards your goal.
It's not just seeing the summit, it's visualizing taking the next step on the path.
Exactly. Actively visualizing the journey.
And this applies across the board. Creative work.
Yep. Don't just imagine the finished masterpiece. Imagine that the piece is constantly improving. You are content, engrossed in the creative process.
Like the mother-child analogy, she doesn't just picture the adult. She imagines the development, participates in the process.
Precisely. She visualizes an ongoing process. Same for professional projects, a computer program getting better, innovative ideas occurring to you.
Even working with your body.
Yes. Nourish it as a mother does her child, imagining it gradually acquiring perfect form. Focus on the process of becoming, not just the end state.
Okay, so to sum that up, visualizing the end result, the goal slide, is valuable for expanding your comfort zone.
It attunes you to the target lifeline.
But visualizing the process of moving towards the goal, that's what actually quickens the work of outer intention. That's the engine.
That's the engine. And if you don't know how to get there, don't stress. Just continue to visualize your slide, the goal, calmly and systematically, and outer intention will present the means, the how.
Right. But what about those really huge goals, the ones that feel lifetimes away?
Yeah, if your goal is on lifelines really distant from where you are now, you can't just attune directly, like trying to visualize passing an exam when you know absolutely nothing.
Too big a leap.
Exactly. This is where transfer chains come in. The path towards a distant goal is a sequence of stages, like links in a chain.
You can't skip links.
No, can't get a master's before a bachelor's, can't build the roof before the foundation.
Okay. So how does visualization work with these chains? There's a crucial rule.
Yes, you can picture the end result, the final goal slide, as often as you like. But the process should only be imagined within the context of your current link in the transfer chain.
Focus the process visualization on the very next step.
Exactly. Don't try to visualize the process of the final step when you're only on step one. And there is no need to hurry. Everything happens at the right time.
Be patient with the chain.
This gives us the final definition of visualization in transurfing. Mentally picturing the realization process of your current link in the transfer chain.
Okay. And a quick note on signs. They only relate to current link.
Yeah, signs relate only to your current link and have a very tenuous connection to the final goal. Except maybe for a negative inner voice, signs are considered the least reliable technique.
Got it. So wrapping up visualization, two core parts. Practice the goal slide visualization often.
Because that widens the comfort zone, attunes your energy.
And the actual shift happens through the workhorse, visualizing the process of the current step in the chain.
Those two together are key for success in the transurfing method.
Okay, let's do a quick recap of this deep dive then. We saw that illusions aren't just fantasy, but maybe perceptions of different realities in alternative space. Our personal slides are these distorting filters, and they're fueled by importance.
Our internal biases and values projected outward.
But we can flip that with positive slides, and it connects to the will to have, truly giving ourselves permission.
Yeah, knowing you're worthy.
And critically, distinguishing goal visualization from the real engine. Visualizing the process of the current step in these transfer chains.
Connecting it all to the bigger picture. The ultimate message here is really empowerment, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that your subjective perception, your inner world, isn't just a passive byproduct of reality. It's an active ingredient in creating it.
You're not just observing, you're participating.
You're co-creating.
So, here's a final thought for you listening. If your personal slides are constantly projecting your reality, what is one slide you're going to consciously choose to create or perhaps eliminate this week?
And how might that one small shift begin to reshape your entire world?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into decoding your reality. Keep exploring.